My mom refused to pick up my sick daughter from school. "I'm not your personal Uber," she said. My daughter waited outside for 3 hours in the rain. I didn't yell. I just did this. 5 days later, her power was shut off, and then she started to panic. I was furious with my mother. I sat in the car with both hands on the steering wheel, barely breathing, trying not to snap. It wasn't just what she did that day, it was the fact that I knew deep down she didn't see anything wrong with it. She never has. Being the oldest meant I was always the one expected to give, to adjust, to understand. When my siblings needed something, she moved mountains. When I needed something, it was always a negotiation, a favor, a burden. Even after I had my daughter, that didn't change. I kept telling myself she'd show up differently as a grandmother, that she'd finally be the person I spent years pretending she already was. But she wasn't. She never tried to be. That Thursday, I got a call from the school around 1:30. My daughter had thrown up in class. She was shaking, pale, and running a fever. The nurse said someone needed to come get her immediately. I left work in a rush, got on the freeway, and hit dead traffic right outside the city. A wreck had shut down 2 lanes, and I was crawling along at 10 miles per hour. I realized fast I wouldn't make it in time. So I called my mom. I asked if she could please pick up my daughter. The school was 5 minutes from her house, and I had left the car seat in her SUV the week before. She paused for a second and then said, completely flat, "I'm not your personal Uber, Cynthia." That was it. No concern. No follow-up question. Just that. I sat there with the phone to my ear, stunned, while she kept talking about her day, that she had a nail appointment at 2:15, needed to stop at Costco, and might swing by her friend Dana's place after. When I tried to push back, she said if I couldn't manage being a mom on my own, maybe I shouldn't have had a kid in the first place. Then she hung up. I didn't even have time to scream. I was already panicking. I kept calling the school, trying to stall, but the nurse had to leave at 3 o'clock. School policy. They said my daughter would wait by the office entrance until I got there. I begged them to keep an eye on her, but there was no one left to stay. It started raining around 3:20. I didn't get there until nearly 6 o'clock. She was sitting on a concrete bench near the side doors. Her hoodie was soaked, jeans sticking to her legs, her backpack on her lap, like she was afraid someone would take it. She didn't cry. She just got in the car and whispered that she was sorry for being a problem. That broke me. I tucked her into bed that night, brought her hot tea, and sat with her until she finally fell asleep. Then I went into the living room, stared at the wall, and made a decision I should have made years ago. I wasn't going to fight my mother. I wasn't going to give her a speech. I wasn't even going to tell her she hurt me. I was just going to stop saving her. No more bailing her out when she overspent on her credit cards. No more sending money when her phone got disconnected or when she forgot to pay her car insurance. No more managing her bills. No more quick transfers when she was a little short on rent. She'd never done any of that for me, and she sure as hell wasn't going to do it for my daughter. She didn't even notice. Days went by, and she didn't call, didn't ask how her granddaughter was feeling. She was probably waiting for me to come crawling back like always. But 5 days later, her power got shut off, and suddenly I wasn't so easy to ignore. When she finally called, her tone was light, almost tearful, like we'd spoken the day before, and everything was normal. "Hey, do you know who I'm supposed to call when the power company messes up your bill?" I didn't answer right away. I let the silence stretch. I could hear the TV in the background, some game show, and the faint hum of her refrigerator struggling to stay cold. She cleared her throat. "The lights went out this morning," she said. "I thought it was the whole street, but apparently not. They left some stupid notice on the door." I asked if she paid it. She didn't answer directly. She never does. She said she thought it was on auto pay. Then she said the system must have glitched. Then she said they didn't give her enough notice. Then, casually, like she was asking me to grab milk on my way home, she said, "Can you just cover it and I'll pay you back Friday?" No please, no apology, no acknowledgement of anything. That was her pattern. Ignore the problem, avoid responsibility, and assume I'd fix it. I had done it for years. Credit cards, phone bills, late fees, rent once. I'd always stepped in, and she'd always promised it was the last time. This time I didn't say yes. I didn't say no either. I just stayed quiet. She laughed a little and said, "Cynthia, don't be weird. I said I'd pay you back." I told her I wasn't trying to be weird. I told her I just couldn't keep bailing her out when she wouldn't show up for me. I reminded her about my daughter sitting in the rain. I told her she never even checked to see if she was okay. I said it calmly. No raised voice. No emotion in it. Just facts. She went defensive immediately, said I was being dramatic, that I was acting like she'd abandoned my child in a ditch, that it was one day and things happen. Then she said something that really stuck with me. You chose to have a kid. I didn't choose to be a babysitter. I didn't even respond to that. I just said I wasn't paying the bill. She snapped, said I was ungrateful, said she did so much for me growing up, said I was letting motherhood go to my head, said, I thought I was better than her now. Then she hung up on me. 10 minutes later, the texts started. Long ones. About how I was abandoning her, about how family is supposed to help each other, about how she would never treat her mother this way, about how disappointed she was in me. I read them all. I didn't reply. The next day, she posted a vague status about being surrounded by selfish people and learning who really cares when things get hard. My aunt liked it. So did one of her friends. I still didn't respond. By the second day without power, she called again. This time her voice was different, tighter. She said her phone was about to die. She said the food in the fridge was going bad. She said it was cold in the house. Then she got quiet and said, Cynthia, I really need you. I told her no again. She started crying, real crying. Not dramatic, not loud, just small and shaky. She said she didn't understand why I was doing this to her. She said she thought we were family. That's when I heard someone in the background, my stepdad. He took the phone from her. I could hear him moving around, probably lighting a candle or opening a window. He sighed before he spoke. I heard what happened with your daughter, he said. And she's wrong. You don't owe us anything. And you sure don't owe her a bailout after that. There was silence on the line. I could tell my mom was staring at him. Then he said something that I know hit her heart. We're drowning in debt because of her choices, not yours, and it's not your job to save us. She started arguing with him. I could hear it, telling him to give the phone back, telling him he was taking my side. He didn't. He told her this was what consequences look like, and that was when I knew she was starting to panic. After that call, she didn't reach out for a few days. Not directly, anyway. Instead, she tried the usual tactic, going through other people. First, it was my aunt texting me to say my mom was having a hard time and that holding grudges only makes things worse. Then it was my cousin, who DM'd me something vague about how moms aren't perfect and how I'd regret this one day. None of them mentioned my daughter. None of them asked if she was okay. By the 5th day, the power was still off, and the cracks were showing. My stepdad started calling me just to check in, not to pressure me. In fact, he made it clear he wasn't asking for anything. He just wanted me to know I wasn't wrong. He told me the fridge smelled like something died in it, that my mom was using flashlights and charging her phone in the car, that she still hadn't tried to apologize. She was waiting for me to break first. He said she was acting like it was all some sick game, that if she could just wait it out long enough, I'd cave and wire her the money. But this time, she'd underestimated me, and she was starting to realize it. That weekend, she showed up at my house unannounced. She knocked like nothing had happened, like she was just dropping by. I didn't open the door right away. My daughter was on the couch under a blanket watching cartoons, still sniffly and tired. I told her to stay there. When I finally opened the door, my mom looked like she hadn't slept much. Her hair was tied back messily, no makeup, jacket zipped all the way up like she was cold. She didn't ask how her granddaughter was, she didn't say sorry. She went straight into a long rant about how she was being punished, how unfair it was, how I was acting like some stranger instead of her daughter. I told her calmly that this wasn't about punishment, it was about boundaries, that I couldn't keep being her financial safety net when she refused to be there for me in any meaningful way. She scoffed, said I was full of myself, said I thought I was hot just because I paid my bills on time and had a kid who loved me. Then she turned to leave, but not before saying something that stuck with me for days. You're just like your father, calculated, and always pretending you're better than everyone else. She walked back to her car without looking back. I stood there for a minute, just watching her drive off, headlights flickering in the evening light. I didn't feel guilt. I didn't feel sad. I felt free. But that wasn't the end of it, not even close. Because the next week, she dragged my little sister into it. And that's when things got ugly. The call from my sister came early, before I'd even opened the curtains. Emily doesn't usually call. She hates talking on the phone, always has. So when I saw her name pop up, I knew something was brewing. She didn't say good morning. No. How are you? Just, Mom said you're letting her freeze and starve. What the hell is wrong with you? I didn't say anything for a second. I just let the words sit there. She kept going. Said Mom hadn't had heat in over a week. Was living off crackers and canned soup. Had started getting dizzy spells. She said Mom didn't even want her to call me, that she was trying to be strong. But Emily just couldn't sit back and watch her suffer. I asked her if she was aware Mom had left my sick child outside in the rain for 3 hours. She hesitated, then said she'd heard something about that, but that it wasn't that bad, that Mom thought I was already on the way, that maybe it was just a misunderstanding. That's when it clicked. My mother had spun her own version of the story. Convenient, half true, and just pitiful enough to rally sympathy. She'd made herself the victim again. This was textbook. She always does this when she loses control of the narrative, pulls someone else in, plays the wounded martyr, and watches as the people around her scramble to defend her. This time that person was Emily. She said I was being petty. That yes, what happened with my daughter wasn't great, but that it wasn't a reason to let our mom live in the dark. She said I had a child. I should understand how hard it is to juggle everything. That as the oldest, I was supposed to be the glue, not the hammer. I told her I wasn't punishing Mom, I was just done enabling her. And if she wanted to take over, fine, but I wasn't going back, not after what happened. Emily got quiet, then said something I didn't expect. You know she applied for a store credit card in my name last year, right? I froze. She said it like it had just occurred to her. Said she found out when she got a late notice in the mail, some department store she'd never shopped at. When she confronted Mom, she brushed it off like it was nothing. Claimed she was going to pay it off before Emily even noticed. Said she was desperate at the time. I asked why she never told me. Emily said she was embarrassed. That she didn't want to cause drama. That she figured it was a one-time thing. But now she wasn't so sure. Still, even after admitting that, she said she was going to help her. That it felt wrong not to. And if I wasn't going to, someone had to. I told her she could do whatever she wanted. But she needed to understand something. Once you start, it doesn't stop. She'll drain you dry and then make you feel guilty for not offering more. Emily said she could handle it, that she wasn't me. We hung up not long after that. I felt a pit in my stomach. Not just because my sister was being pulled into the same cycle I had spent years in, but because my mother was playing dirty now. Really dirty. The next morning, I got a call from HR at my job. Someone had submitted an anonymous complaint. Said I was leaving my daughter home alone. That she'd been seen wandering outside after dark, that I was an unfit mother who put work before her child. I had to sit down with the supervisor, provide daycare records, school schedules, emergency contacts. It wasn't formal yet, but it was enough to raise eyebrows. They wouldn't say who filed the complaint, but they didn't have to. There's only one person who knows my routine, who knows where I work, and who would stoop low enough to drag my daughter into it. This wasn't just manipulation anymore. This was sabotage. And if she wanted war, I was ready. After the HR meeting, I sat in my car for almost an hour. I couldn't go back to my desk. Not like that. I was furious, embarrassed, and something else I couldn't even name. It was like I had just seen a side of her I didn't know existed, and I'd already seen plenty. Dragging my 8-year-old into this, filing a false complaint to my workplace. That was a new level. And the worst part was knowing she probably did it with a straight face, convinced she was justified, that somehow I was the villain. I didn't respond, not to the complaint, not to her texts, not even to the carefully staged Facebook post she made later that day. Another sad little message about people turning on you when you need them most. She knew exactly what she was doing, so I did what she never expected. Nothing. That weekend, Emily called again. This time she sounded different, not angry, just tired. She said Mom had been calling her every day, sometimes multiple times, asking for rides, asking for money, asking for favors, acting like they were best friends now. But every time Emily said she couldn't do something, Mom would get cold, start guilt-tripping her. She told Emily she was lucky she still had a mother at all. I could tell Emily was unraveling. She hadn't even been doing this for 2 full weeks, and already she was exhausted. I told her gently, this is what it's like every day. That pressure, that manipulation, that expectation to drop everything when it's convenient for her, but never the other way around. Emily didn't say anything for a while. Then she said she was thinking about pulling back, said it was starting to affect her relationship, that her boyfriend was getting fed up with how often their plans were getting canceled because Mom needed something again. I told her she didn't owe anyone her peace. She said, I just don't want to be a bad daughter. That phrase hit me harder than it should have, because that's exactly what I'd been labeled. The bad daughter, the one who turned cold, the one who abandoned her mother, the one who put boundaries where there used to be sacrifice. But I didn't feel bad. I felt clear. The people who called me selfish didn't sit in the dark and feed her when her bank account was overdrawn. They didn't drop everything to keep her bills paid. They didn't leave work early to drive her to doctor's appointments, only to be met with criticism about their hair, or their weight, or their parenting. I had done all of that, and it was never enough. So yeah, maybe I was the bad daughter now, but I was finally a good mother. That night, my stepdad called again, said Mom was spiraling, said she'd applied for a payday loan, maxed out 2 cards, and was now thinking about asking Emily to co-sign something. Then he paused, like he didn't know if he should say the next part. He said she brought up calling CPS, said she thinks that might be the only way to get your attention. For the first time in this entire mess, I felt scared. Because now it wasn't just drama, it wasn't just lies. It was a threat. And I knew I had to protect my daughter no matter what it cost me, even if it meant burning every last bridge. I didn't want to make it a war. I really didn't. But when someone threatens your kid, even just the suggestion of it, something inside you hardens. The part that used to reason, to forgive, to hope they'll change, that part dies. The next morning, I sat down and made a list. Every account she'd ever had access to, gone. Changed my bank. Called my daughter's school and removed every single emergency contact except me and 2 close friends. Passwords, locks. I closed every window she might try to crawl back in through. I wasn't afraid. I was done. Then I went to a lawyer, told him everything. He didn't blink, said I wasn't the first daughter to walk in with a story like mine, but I might be the first to walk in before things exploded. He told me how to document everything. What to do if a CPS case ever came up, how to protect myself, my job, my kid. I left that office with a folder full of papers, a quiet rage, and a level of clarity I hadn't felt in years. I blocked her on everything. I didn't send a warning text. I didn't write a long goodbye. She wouldn't have read it anyway. I didn't owe her a final word. I owed my daughter a future without chaos. The fallout came fast. Emily called first, of course. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. She said Mom hadn't stopped screaming for 2 hours after she realized I'd cut her off, that she'd smashed a glass in the sink and blamed her, that now she was pacing the house saying she couldn't trust anyone, that everyone was turning on her, that I was trying to destroy her life. Emily begged me to talk to her, said I was pushing her over the edge, said Mom was saying things that scared her, that she might hurt herself. I believed she was spiraling. But I also knew this was her go-to move when control slips. Collapse. Make everyone else drop what they're doing. Pull the spotlight back. I asked Emily one question. Is she threatening to hurt herself or saying she feels like it? She went silent, then admitted it was just a lot of, I don't know how to keep going. I can't believe my daughters would do this to me, and maybe they'd care if I was gone. I told her to call someone, a hotline, a therapist, a friend. Anyone but me. Emily didn't like that. She said I was being cruel, that it didn't matter if Mom meant it. What mattered was she felt abandoned. I told her Mom wasn't abandoned. She was just finally being left to deal with her own mess without dragging someone else down with her. And then came the part that really stung. Emily said, "You always wanted to be the good one, the strong one, but you're just mean now. You're not even trying." I said, "You're right. I'm not trying anymore, and it feels amazing." She hung up. She hasn't spoken to me since. I still hear things through mutuals, through posts, through my stepdad, who, God help him, is still there. He's the only one who checks in on me, not to ask for anything, just to tell me I'm not crazy, that he sees it now, that I was right to get out. He told me Mom finally got the power back on. Emily gave her the money, but it didn't stop there. Now it's groceries, then some unexpected car repair, and Emily's starting to realize the help never ends. It just changes shape. But she won't admit it yet. She's still in that place where I used to live. The place where you think if you just give enough, sacrifice enough, hold your breath long enough, maybe she'll become someone else. She won't. She never will. Sometimes I still get that ache. The one that says, maybe I went too far. Maybe there was another way. Maybe family should be different. But then I look at my daughter, safe and warm, laughing on the couch, asking if I want to bake something with her. And I remember that cold day outside her school, her soaked hoodie, her tiny voice saying she was sorry for being a problem. And I know exactly why I did it. I wasn't the bad daughter. I was just the first one brave enough to stop playing pretend.